guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks from the basement of things where we are hidden.
No.
Leah said something real fancy earlier, and I couldn't remember what it was. But
welcome to the underground
resistance
broadcasting
network.
You will now know why we are called the Resistance Chicks,
right?
Because if you are receiving this broadcast, you are part of the resistance.
You are. Because
chaos, as the chaos engulfs the globe. Cancel culture, just kind of to let you know where things are at with a lot of in the world. What cancel culture is when you go back, you find somebody did something that was wrong or morally inept, and then they're gone, they're done. You've ruined their whole life, right? So the Des Moines Register reporter, he got a Anheuser-Busch to cancel this Carson King, who raised a bunch of money for a hospital. I don't know why he decided to look him up, but it was really kind of a sad situation all around. Anheuser-Busch cancels Carson King over high school tweet. Carson King raised over $1 million for a children's hospital and has now been canceled by Anheuser-Busch over something he tweeted as a high school sophomore. Less than 2 weeks ago, King was a hero after he turned a moment of fleeting fame into a movement that raised $1.14 million for the University of Iowa Stead Family Children's Hospital.
Wow. On
September 13th, King, who's now 24, was featured on ESPN College Game Day holding a sign that read, "Bush Light Supply Needs Replenished, Carson King." Bush Light Supply needs to be replenished. The national attention resulted in donors from all over the country contributed to King's Venmo account. Rather than keep the money, King said he would donate it to the Children's Hospital. This is when Anheuser-Busch and Venmo agreed to match his donation. So here's a young man turning a goof that could have personally enriched him into a legitimately good thing. Enter the media, specifically the Des Moines Register. For whatever sadistic reason, the Register decided to do a background check of a private citizen thrust into the national spotlight, and lo and behold, what they uncovered were a couple of racially insensitive tweets King fired off when he was 16, when he was still a sophomore in high school. The paper contacted King to tell him they were going to run the story. Obviously worried about his reputation, King tried to go ahead of the scandal by releasing the following statement. It was just 10 days ago. I was a guy in a crowd holding a sign looking for beer money on ESPN Game Day. Since then, so much has happened, especially when I announced all of the money would be donated to the Stead Family Children's Hospital in Iowa City. Thousands of people have donated today, and the account has 1.14 million. Anyways, it's got $1 million in it. Much of this has happened thanks to social media. It has the power to bring people together for the common good. It can also make your life very public, and that is why I wanted to share with you that 8 years ago, when I was a sophomore in high school, I made some social media posts with my friends that quoted and referenced the show Tosh O. One of those posts was brought to my attention by a member of the media today, and I had no recollection of it. And reading it today, 8 years later, I see it as an attempt of humor that was offensive and hurtful. I am so embarrassed and stunned to reflect on what I thought was funny when I was 16. I want to sincerely apologize. Thankfully, high school kids grow up and hopefully become responsible and caring adults. I think my feelings are better summed up by a post from just 3 years ago. Until we as people learn that racism and hate are learned behaviors, we won't get rid of it. Tolerance towards others is the first step, and he made that post in 2016. I am sharing this information tonight because I feel a responsibility to all people who have donated the money. I cannot go back and change, blah, 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 blah. Apparently the tweets, which are no longer available, compared black people to gorillas. The ever-gracious King later released a statement saying he was not angry at the Des Moines Register. He says, they have been nothing but kind in all their coverage, and I appreciate the reporter pointing out the post to me. I want everyone to understand that this was my decision to publicly address the post and apologize. I believe it was the right thing to do. And immediately, those profiles encourage at Anheuser-Busch cut all ties with King, and the company says it will still match his contribution. King says he will still donate the money, and then the beer company, and then it goes back and forth and back and forth. And then, but guess what? In a fascinating turn of events that personifies the unforgiving woke culture, the Register piece ran, and the internet dug up a number of offensive tweets published by the reporter, who dug up the tweets, the offensive tweets on the good guy who raised the money. His name was Aaron Calvin. Aaron Calvin, who dug up the bad tweets, has now locked up his Twitter account. And the Register said it is aware of the tweets and is looking into them. And actually, he has now
been fired.
He has been fired. Okay, so one of Calvin's tweets from 2012 reads, "Can I be a guest instructor at your theater camp teaching kids how to abuse substances and turn tricks?" He goes on to do a bunch of other things and uses an N-word.
You know,
so welcome to the future where this very reporter who was trying to be mean and cruel, the idea, you can tell that kind of anger, he's just, the children's hospital get $1 million, so you decide to look up and find something bad. You have to go searching for it. And he went through his tweets. I'm going to find something bad. I want to find something bad. And then he publishes it, and he does it because he's bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
He's the bad
one.
Well,
that's good news, though, that, you know, that was some justice there. In the end, you know, that he tried to ruin this young kid's life and many other people, you know, by taking, like, popping a balloon in the whole thing. And then it's like, okay, guess what? We aren't pro Anheuser-Busch, okay? So we don't drink beer. I don't like.
But here's the thing.
Beer.
The answer to firing somebody over old tweets is not necessarily to fire somebody over old tweets.
No, exactly. But at the same time, the fact that he did get fired, I think, is justice. But what my point is, if you're going to just immediately, we live in this fast-paced world. Bam, 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 something happens, and we want to be the next two. So this kid does this sign, and then he says, I'm going to donate this money in Anheuser-Busch without doing any kind of research. All right, we're going to do this, and we're going to link with this kid, and it's going to be awesome, and we're going to do that. Okay, great, fine. Okay, but you don't know anything about this kid. Even if it doesn't matter whether he posted anything on Twitter, you have to be able to stand by. Listen, regardless of whoever this person is, that's a good deed. We're going to stand by it. We're going to do it. We wanted to do it willy-nilly fast and get it out there. All right, then stand by that, because you can't just say, well, now that I find out that this person is, you know, whatever. If he was like a child predator or something, then okay, I can understand that. But a tweet that was racially insensitive when he was 16, I mean, give me a break. Stand by what you're going to do, or don't do it at all.
So this is what the Des Moines Register had to say. It still doesn't get it. I'll discuss some of the steps in our decision making later, but rest assured, we're examining all the processes with fresh eyes. In response to this week's conversations, we're focused on our policies for backgrounding individuals and stories, with particular attention to acts committed by juveniles and to the newsworthiness of that information years later.
Oh my gosh.
The shift in social media culture and how activities on those platforms reflect upon a person's newsworthiness in general.
Wow.
Our screening policy and social media vetting for employees. Some of you wonder why journalists think it's necessary to look into someone's past. It's essential because readers depend on us to tell the complete story.
Wow. You know
what?
We
better get you. We better get you.
I have some advice for everyone. Okay? Don't ever get in the limelight ever for anything ever. Because everyone has the tweet that they posted about the next door neighbor that they didn't like when they were 6 years old. And if that neighbor just so happened to be of a different skin color or religious affiliation or whatever, you will be found out. Everything that you have ever done, when you looked at your classmate's test to cheat on that test, that will be found out. Everything that you have ever done wrong in your life is going to be discovered. There is no hiding now. It's Big Brother. There is, I think, and imagine the people that actually have things to hide. Like, most of us don't, okay? Most of us have something really stupid in our closet. It's not even worth being in a closet. We just haven't cleaned it out lately.
Right.
But if you were, let's say, a former drug addict that cleaned up your life, got saved, loves the founding fathers, watches David Barton, wants to represent your country, okay, and you want to go and do that, now you can't. There is literally
I know.
zero chance for redemption in this world.
It's really sad. It's really sad.
Zero chance for redemption. I mean, it's ridiculous. And most people with something like this, it's stuff you don't even remember doing. So there's no way to come out from day one, was a drug addict, did this, and then list it all. Okay, now will you elect me? And then somehow they're going to find the one thing you didn't disclose. And now you can't, your whole life is ruined because of a childhood mistake you made when you were 8.
So, on our next show, probably, I'm going to try to find this video that somebody did comparing, somebody dug up a video from like the 90s where they had a young girl in the UN doing the same thing, talking about, I'm so afraid to go out in the sun because of the ozone layer. Remember the ozone layer and Aquanet and all that?
Right.
And she said the same exact things. You're doing this to me. You're stealing my childhood. And you're putting this on all our shoulders. And we're just 12 and 13-year-olds. And we're trying to change the world. And blah, 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 blah. And somebody put it side by side with Greta. But here's the thing. Climate activist Greta Thunberg's recent speech in the United Nations seemed to reveal a deeply troubled individual. She said her childhood was taken away from her by the looming threat of climate change, and she blamed world leaders for letting it happen. She has every reason to be upset, but she is directing her anger at the wrong people. The real culprit is the green catastrophe industry that manufactures crisis out of nothing. There's a kid, I think, in the UK who killed himself this week.
What did I just
from
say?
Climate change.
What did I just say? I just said it.
The critical ingredient in Thunberg's climate anxiety is her youth. Had she been older, she would have lived through so many false alarms that she would have grown numb and wary of green catastrophes. The older remember when former VP Al Gore declared the North Pole would be ice-free by 2015. People were told that snow would be a thing of the past. Instead, the Northern Hemisphere has seen record levels of snow. In recent years, it has snowed in the Sahara Desert in Saudi Arabia and even the Canary Islands, which is the same latitude as Miami, Florida.
Right.
And don't forget the polar bears. The melting Arctic was supposed to render this animal extinct. The population of 8,000 to 10,000 in the late 60s is only 25,000 and 30,000 remain today. So the polar bear population has increased.
Right. But what caused the ice age? I mean, seriously. The planet warms, it cools. It warms, it cools. It warms, it cools. We have this process that has been happening depending on your religious belief, and I will call it a religious belief, evolution versus creation. I mean, for thousands of years to millions of years. We know it's thousands of years, but they think millions, but it's been happening.
So in 88, a climate scientist named James Hansen scared the entire world by predicting the globe would warm 1 degree Celsius by 2018. In fact, the warming was less than half of that. And in the last 2 decades, the increases ground to a halt, giving rise to the so-called pause or hiatus in global warming. Those who are even older remember the acid rain scare.
Yeah.
All the trees were going to die because of the pollution from fossil fuels. The opposite happened. CO2 is plant food. And human emissions have been hungrily gobbled up by the plants, resulting in an unprecedented greening of the earth, especially in arid areas. All over the world, deserts are actually yielding vegetation. Very interesting there. Seniors may even remember the global cooling scare of the 70s. My mom lived through the 78 and 79. I would have thought it would have been climate change and that we were all going to die.
There was a blizzard here in Ohio in 78.
And it kept going on for like 79. A couple months.
Yeah, it was like ridiculous.
It just kept going and going and nobody could go anywhere. It was just crazy. Temperatures were plunging and humans might have to cover glaciers with soot to stave off the coming ice age. In 1972, the Club of Rome predicted mass starvation and complete depletion of oil and other natural resources. It was so wrong that today environmentalists complain there's too much fossil energy left to explore. Green catastrophism is a never-ending story. Green activists try to scare people into submission, and the youngest and the most are the most vulnerable. I remember it as a kid, and beyond. And they actually, as a kid, I have to give them credit. They actually gave us things to do: reduce, reuse, recycle. Ain't nothing wrong with any of that. And they gave you hope, and it was like, okay, we can fix this, right? But instead, the people and the powers that be make more and more stuff, and they want you to have more stuff, and they don't want you on a farm, and here's the thing, if you have 2 parents working, you're using twice as much fossil fuels, you're using twice as much natural resources, and they want the 2 parents working. It's you gotta shuttle your kid to daycare, and all these are using fossil fuels. And so rather than fix the problem, they're just like throwing band-aids up in the air and like, put this band-aid here, put this band-aid here, and then we have no band-aids for you. You're just gonna bleed out. We're all gonna die.
So here's my question, Leah. So if you were experimenting with climate manipulation. We know it's a real thing.
We do.
We do know that is a fact. That is not contested by anyone.
And you can blame it on something else.
Okay, so if you were experimenting with or climate manipulation, and you saw that it was affecting, like let's say in the north where all these cows were frozen and died, and it was awful, and you are seeing some places that are getting too hot or not enough rain or too much rain or whatever, the fires in California. Let's say you knew that your experimentation, which is highly classified, where you're doing it in other countries. It doesn't even have to be here in the United States. You're doing it in other countries, and so it's shifting weather patterns all the way here to the United States. If you had the chance to, I'm saying there's nothing nefarious going on other than you're just regular experimentation. You're not actually trying to do anything bad, but you are experimenting with the weather, and it is having an effect, and you don't want anybody to know about it.
Right.
What might you do?
I'm going to create something else. I'm going to create a boogeyman over here so that nobody's focused on what I'm doing.
And you would call it the climate crisis.
Right. So I believe that they are manipulating the weather and geoengineering things, and they're messing with the soils, and we could talk about that more and more and more. The problem is that the more that they talk about this, the less time we have to talk about the real issues.
Right.
But this is very interesting statistic here, chart from 1912, climate-related deaths from droughts, floods, storms, wildfire, and extreme temperatures. We're at 500,000 at the turn of the century here, and I'm guessing from television newscasters and weathermen, it's down here to under 50. It's down here at like maybe 10,000, maybe 15,000 people. So, you know, technology maybe giving people radio alerts where the weather's going to be, flash floods and things like that. So, and then maybe Sunday we'll talk about Pope Francis endorses essay trashing U.S. conservative Christians. Yay, Pope.
Oh, surprise there.
Alrighty, so there's our show for you. The climate alarmists have already killed one child committing suicide over climate change. Many other children.
At least one. And
it's all
suicide,
been.
They maybe didn't leave a note.
Here's the thing: it's all been through AOC.
Yeah.
AOC is the voice of children thinking that they're going to die. You know what I mean? And she has blood on her hands, and she will continue to have blood on her hands, and we just have to pray to God to not let these kids be so brainwashed.
Exactly.
Oh, and I want to show you guys something. You're going to find it interesting. You guys want something to watch. I want you to see Lynette Zhang, our favorite monetary person, interview.
Financial mind. Ron Paul. Yeah, Ron Paul.
Yeah, so she got to interview Ron
Did you watch
Paul.
it? I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, they helped me water, so I took them around as I was watering. Let's see, it was here we go. It was just 2 days ago, fresh off the presses.
Let's keep this one off.
Well, here, maybe you can put the link in the description and you can watch Ron Paul and Lynette. He says, we can't go back to the gold standard.
Can.
Told you.
C-A-N.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. I just want sometimes it sounds like can't. So, yes.
Tell him when we'll see him next.
We're going to see you next in 2 days on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, unless we're not here anymore because climate change. Unless literally the planet goes off its rocker or whatever has happened that is going to happen. If it can happen in 8.5 years, it can happen tomorrow.
That's
you
true.
know, and so we may not be here tomorrow. You may not be here tomorrow. You may be dead. Now, this is sarcasm. Leah's show was sarcasm as well.
Yeah. Mom wants me to put that link in. I don't know if you can do that too. I did a fun show on Monday. You guys are all going to want to watch it.
It's on Mass Faith 3 on YouTube.
What did I call it?
I'm so proud of the climate change kids.
I'm so proud of the climate change kids. If you guys need to laugh, if you guys want to know what the climate change kids are up to, it is, I'm going to let you guys know, it is sarcasm, but it's really funny, and I think you guys would get a kick out of that, so go watch that.
Wicked Sykes says, Leah's sarcastic video on climate was great. It actually really was enjoyable, and I wish we could get it out there, but, it's really that good. Get Greta Thunberg on your show and interview her. I would love to have that young lady on our show. I don't think she'll come. I don't know why, but I just think that I don't know why she would.
And I would be nice to her.
All right, so we love you. God loves
box.
you. God bless. We do have a P.O. Box, 107, Milford, Ohio, 45150. We will read your letters on air. I know there are those of you that have things that you want to say because you send them to me in emails. Please just write them in a letter. I want to read your letters on air. So
it's
do
fun
that.
And a throwback.
We're on Instagram right now. It is, writing letters. It's important. So we're on Instagram now, Resistance Chicks, or my name, Michelle Svensson.
It makes it real. to like you're real people. I'm a real person.
Exactly.
connection
And
there.
so does Instagram, I think, only because I'm posting pictures of our everyday life, which is really fun and enjoyable. So find us there on Facebook and Twitter. Leah's always on Twitter. I think you're less shadow banned.
I'm back up to being shadow banned again.
Because our video, it reaches more people. Like even
When it
today,
goes
we kind of
live-
maintained like 5 or 6, 7 people continuously throughout on Twitter. So thank you for being here on Periscope. So, all right. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. You've got Saturday and Sunday. The weather here in Ohio is going to be great. I don't know about
hot,
where you are.
global warming.
It is. It's all global warming.
We're hitting record highs. Global warming
Isn't it something?
I
Yeah.
know.
I'm enjoying it because it's fall and we're able to enjoy our deck.
at night when the temperatures.
Yeah. Oh my
fall a
gosh.
little bit.
The temperatures drop so much that I have to wear like big footies and socks and sweatshirts
no
when I
fun.
sleep because I
It's
have the window open. But in the daytime, we're in sleeveless and shorts and sandals because it's so hot.
It's climate change.
It is. Yeah. It changes in 24 hours. It's incredible. I don't know. The world's going to come to an end. All right. We love you guys.
And God loves you. So God bless.
I was caught